All right, we're ready. Here we are. Okay, we're just getting ourselves situated here before we actually get started. So, hi. Hi, it's our first live, if you can't tell.
Figuring it all out.
Yep, figuring it all out, figuring out the technology, but there's some important things that we wanted to talk about. And so here we are. Here we are live to talk about what might be the reason that you feel burned out and tired all the time. And it might not be what you think it is. It might be the thing that you're using to feel more energized. Coffee. So there's a vicious circle that we can get into when we start leaning on things like coffee and other stimulants to stay energized. It's not actually being energized. Savannah, you did a little bit of research recently on this. What did you find?
There's a difference between energy and stimulation. And Kita, you explained this really well of thinking of it like a bank account. So do you want to say that first before I get into the other stuff?
I do. I realized we didn't introduce ourselves. I'm Kita Centella, founder of Loose Leaf Tea Market, and Savannah is our genius marketing and social media manager. So,
Hi, everyone.
When I was in herb school back in the 90s, my herbal teacher explained something to me that her explanation stuck with me for all of my life is the difference between stimulation and energy is if we think about our energy levels, we think about it like a bank account. When we're born with a capacity for a certain level of energy. You notice how some people that you meet, they're always bouncing around energy and energetic and lively, and other people seem to kind of drag. And you notice, like in certain families, you'll see people are either very vibrant or they move a little slower. And so there's a theory in Chinese medicine that there's something called your inherited energy. So the vitality of your parents is imprinted on your body when you're born. And then that's your nest egg. That's what you have to work with. And throughout your life, you can either add to this bank of energy or you can detract from it. And the ways that we can add to our vital energy are through living a healthy lifestyle, such as eating healthy food and exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, breathing deeply, making sure that our body is just in top form with, just the foods that we eat, eating superfoods and drinking teas that nourish the body, and on levels that are not commonly found in most foods, like teas and like herbal teas. They contain special unique compounds that are not commonly found in most foods, but that have a beneficial effect on your body. So if you're doing all these good things, then it's like putting money in your bank account. But if you're living a lifestyle that is working against nature, such as you're working a crazy split shift job, and so sometimes you're working the night shift and sometimes you're working the day shift, and your circadian rhythm gets all messed up. That has a very depleting effect on your adrenals overall. Or if you eat garbage food that doesn't literally nourish your body, or reliance on alcohol, reliance on sugar, reliance on drugs, just to manage stress and stuff like that, that will take away your energy. And so it's really like, if you think about it like money in the bank, you're either putting money, energy in your body, or you're taking it away. And when you think about the difference between energy and stimulation, when you're being energized, when you're feeling nourished and vital and relaxed, like you can be energized and relaxed at the same time. That's very different than if you feel depleted and tired, you wake up feeling tired, so you pound a bunch of caffeine and sugar to get that rush. Well, that isn't giving you energy. That's drawing on your reserves. That's stimulating the release of your own vital energy in your nervous system and in your adrenals. And in the end, you don't feel more energized because you come crashing down when the effects of the caffeine wear off. So that's why so many people experience this feeling of being burned out and tired all the time, is because they're substituting stimulation for real energy. So, it's a lot more work to live a healthy lifestyle than it is to just, let me go get some of those energy drinks that are, they're fizzy and sweet and fun and quick, and then you feel like, woo, I'm ready to go. That's quite different than, okay, well, I'm going to eat like some broccoli today, and I'm going to have some lean protein, and then I'm going to work out for a while, and then I'm going to go to bed at a decent hour, and then I'm going to wake up feeling refreshed and good. So
like that expression I think you've used before and I've heard on the internet of like choose your hard, because both ways are hard. And like like when you were saying that, I was thinking about, yeah, it's hard to like get up and, eat your vegetables and work out. Like it's hard to put all that work in, but it's also hard to feel like shit all the time,
yeah.
So it's like choose which one you want to live.
Yeah. Which hard do you want? Yeah. Do you want the hard of chopping vegetables, or do you want the hard of feeling awful all the time? And so at some point, as adults, you got to make that decision on how you really want to feel. And there's things that you can do to gradually work toward feeling more energized. So you don't have to give up all the things you love. Like, we're talking about coffee being a part of the problem. Well, it really can be part of the problem if you're relying on it. But you can drink a really good cup of coffee in the morning and then switch over to tea. And Savannah she actually wrote a really good blog post this week about the types of caffeine that you encounter, and how the caffeine that you encounter in coffee is different than the caffeine in tea. And so I was hoping that you would talk a little bit about that, Savannah.
Sure. So he has helped me realize this a lot, because I personally have this experience where whenever I drink coffee, I feel like very like crazy for a little bit and then just crash. And then I end up the rest of the day having this like weird feeling where I'm like wired and then also like tired. Like I need to go to sleep, but I can't sleep because I feel too wired to fall asleep. And I did a little research and I found out there's a term for this, and it's called adrenal fatigue. And basically, adrenal fatigue is a condition that occurs when your adrenal glands, which are the glands that are responsible for producing hormones that regulate your body's response to stress, when those become overworked and exhausted, you have this feeling of like very wired and tired. And the reasons why you get adrenal fatigue are chronic stress, if you have chronic illness, or excessive caffeine intake. And I think that's where a lot of us have this problem. So when you guzzle down a cup or 10 cups of coffee, your body can go into this state of stress where you're releasing cortisol and other stress hormones that are helping your body cope with the stresses that caffeine is making on your body. So this is going to overwork your adrenal glands and deplete the hormones that they produce. And I wrote down that adrenal fatigue is the feeling of feeling too tired to do anything, but too wired to rest or relax. Yeah. And this can make you feel super irritated and anxious. And even like simple tasks can feel like such an effort. You might get a little snappy with your partner, or you might feel like you need to do something, like you feel like this anxiety to do something, but you're like too tired to do anything. And obviously that is not a good feeling to have. And so I think that's why we really wanted to stress the awesome thing about tea is that even though tea also has caffeine if it comes from the tea plant, one, it's way less caffeine. Mm-hmm. And two, it's a different type of caffeine because it contains a compound called L-theanine. And what L-theanine is it's an amino acid that's abundant in tea that has mental enhancing, stress reducing, and focus promoting properties. And so it helps you just have this smooth energy. I don't know if you've experienced it personally yourself, but when you drink tea, you just get this like, I feel alert, but I'm not feeling like that wired, like crazy feeling. And for me, it's made such a big difference in like my work and my productivity because instead of feeling like fuzzy from coffee, I just drink like so much like green tea, and it's a lot less in caffeine, but it's a better type of caffeine. So,
But I guess there's something in it that, gosh, this was explained to me, and I wish I could explain it now. But there's some kind of compound in tea that when you drink coffee, it just hits your system, and you're super stimulated, and then you crash when it works through your body. But with tea, there's something that suppresses that effect, meaning it's more like a
L-theanine.
yeah, the L-theanine, but like how it works in your brain. It's suppressing something in your brain so that you have like a smoother ramp up and a smoother ramp down. And I will say, like, I can't do caffeine even from tea because when I drink any kind of caffeine, I feel like sick and paranoid and wired, but not energized. So for me, it feels like a drug. And it's because I drank coffee and I did all that stuff when I was younger. And then I got off of that in my late 20s, early 30s. And so going back to it and having been clean off drugs since 1986. So when I introduce anything that has a strong effect on the nervous system, I can really feel the difference. So it makes sense that there are so many people that are feeling wired and tired and depleted all the time. And they just don't have that distance from, what is it like to be in your body and not be stimulated?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel normal yet. But when you can reset your body to not rely on any kind of those stimulants or that vicious cycle that you get in when you're drinking coffee all day because you wake up feeling exhausted and you're tired and you're burned out, so you're pounding the coffee, pounding the energy drinks, and then not realizing that caffeine lives on in your body for at least 12 hours, so that by the time nighttime rolls around, you're too wired to fall asleep, so then you take a sedative. And that sedative knocks you out because you have to take a strong one because mild things don't work. And then you sleep really deeply and wake up feeling tired and groggy. So the whole cycle continues on and on. And I feel like if people can give themselves the gift of ending that cycle and not ending it abruptly and in a cruel way on your body, like have a really good cup of coffee in the morning and enjoy it, and then switch to tea, which has lower caffeine. But there have been studies that have shown that people who, I think this study was about green tea, when they drink it regularly, they reported feeling more energized and more productive than people who drank coffee, or than when they drank coffee.
Well, green tea also has like all the mental enhancing properties that make your brain actually work better.
Yeah.
So that's what's so cool about tea is like it's not just like this fun, delicious liquid, like sometimes like that's how like I just love tea. So I'm just like, oh yum. And I forget that it has so many benefits. It's like the only thing healthier than water is just adding a bunch of awesome teas and herbs to that water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so much healthier. So yeah, there's ways to get off that cycle, but it will start with making the decision, making the choice to say, okay, I am sick of feeling this way, and not giving up your caffeine totally, but just creating a different plan. So if you love coffee and you love that coffee experience, have a cup of coffee and then switch to, there's a tea called pu'er. Some people call it pu'er, and it is a fermented tea. It's the same tea leaves that make green tea, black tea, matcha, and all that. But those tea leaves undergo this special fermentation process, which is wonderful because you know how good fermented foods are for your gut. This is no exception. This is going to be great for your gut, but it gives you a different experience than drinking green tea or black tea because both of those are so different from coffee. You know, like green tea is and black tea, they're light, they're thin, they're tannic. And coffee is like this dark, rich, bold beverage. And so when you drink pu'er tea, it brews up rich, dark, bold. It looks like coffee in your cup. And I'm not, there's a couple of different types of pu'er. There's sheng and there's shu. And the sheng is a heck of a lot more expensive. And the shu is what you're most commonly going to find here in the United States. And that's the kind that I'm talking about. And that it really brews up so differently than the regular kinds of tea. It tastes really different. It's a lot smoother. It's earthy though. And so it's got one of those flavors that people either love or they hate. And I am a person that loves it because it's earthy and it's got notes of chocolate and caramel and mushrooms, weirdly, pleasantly mushrooms. And
like an umami kind of, like it's like rich.
Yeah, so rich. It's not acidic like coffee either, because you know how you drink too much coffee and then your gut hurts. You get like that rot gut from coffee, and you don't get that with this tea. It soothes your stomach. Yeah. I drank it when I felt like I had like a stomach bug coming on, and I felt so much better afterward. So it works.
That's the cool thing about all these teas is like they like really work. And since working here, I've gotten so much more into it and so interested by it. Like I've always been into nutrition, but like the herbal aspect and the tea aspect, I just didn't really understand this world. And so now that I like know all this stuff, whenever I like my sister the other day, she was over and she was like having this weird like acid problem that her stomach was hurting. She's just like, I need like to take a Gas-X. And I was like, you should try some ginger tea first. Like, trust me. And so I gave her a cup of ginger tea and she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, it works so well. And so now she's telling everyone about it. And I think just like the power of healing with plants, it's not talked about enough because it's really so powerful.
Yeah. It is not talked about, but everybody should know about. I feel like this is why I'm here on earth, is to help turn as many people as possible onto the incredible healing power of plants. So, we kicked off our live talking about caffeine and coffee. And, I just wanted to be said that I'm not bashing coffee. And, I'm not on a crusade to end coffee. Just like, back in the 1980s, I gave up eating meat. And so I haven't eaten red meat or poultry since 1986. But I was never a militant vegetarian or vegan because, I honor people's choices, and especially if you're making, good choices. Like, you want to eat meat, great. Get good meat. Don't get garbage meat. If you want to drink coffee, good. There's a lot of really ethical coffee farmers out there, and there's a lot of things to it. So I'm not bashing it. I'm just trying to offer a little light of hope for people that are experiencing this terrible cycle of burnout and exhaustion and don't really know how to get out. And here's a thought: it might be your coffee that's a problem. So don't quit it totally. Just cut down, cut back, and incorporate tea into your life. It's really funny having a tea business. I've met a lot of people who, when I had a restaurant attached to the retail part of it, and there were people, come in, and some of the people would want a tea, and then there'd be others, no, I'm a coffee drinker. And kind of like, we're insulting you or something there, it's not an insult. You can still have your coffee. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
either
both.
or. It can be,
Yeah.
and you can have coffee and you can have tea. And so if you feel, if we've threatened your relationship with coffee, we're not trying to get in between that at all. Just asking you to consider adding tea into your life and seeing if making this one little switch can help you to feel a little bit better. Because I personally know that it can. I like, plants help me to get off drugs and alcohol. So if they can help me down in like the pit of despair and sickness and, just being so unhealthy, if they can help me, I think they can help somebody who's just feeling kind of burned out. I know that they work. So don't take it as, I'm not coming after your coffee. Have your coffee, but incorporate tea and create a rhythm, think about creating a new rhythm into your life and stopping all caffeine by, I don't know, what time do you go to bed? Do you go to bed at 10 o'clock? If you go to bed at 10 o'clock, stop drinking caffeine at 10 a.m. because caffeine is still in your system for up to 12 hours. They say, 10 to 12 hours. So think about when you go to bed and count back 10 to 12 hours and stop your caffeine intake around then. And then if you still want to have a nice hot beverage or you want to have a fun beverage, the world of tea can offer all of that. Like one of the things that we do in Savannah is so amazing at coming up with ways to turn teas into delicious mocktails. So if you're used to drinking like fun, fizzy drink, Savannah, tell our wonderful people how you turn teas into something that's super fun.
It's actually really fun because loose leaf tea is so versatile. And once you start working with it, you realize how incredible it is and how delicious it can be. So, a fun way that I like to make mocktails is taking any type of fruity tea that you like. We do a lot with lush lavender, cranberry apple tart. That one's really great during like the winter time. Then we have like summer tea, I heart pomegranate, things like that. You basically, my favorite way to do it is to brew it dark. So once you take the brewing instructions and use a little less water, and steep it for a little bit longer, and then you're going to get a brewed concentrate of that tea. And then I love to add fruit and ice and sparkling water. And so you can really customize it to be your own. And I think that's what's so great about it because everyone has different taste buds. If you like that ginger, like the sour, bitter, spicy, kind of like those kind of flavors, you can add a bunch of lemon and ginger. But if you like it more sweet, you can add more fruit. So add some like berries and, oranges or whatever it is and really muddle it and get all those flavors and health benefits, extra health benefits than just the tea itself, and top with some sparkling water, and then you have a mocktail. It's really so cool.
It's easy. It's easy. Yeah. And then one of the easiest formula that I found for doing this, just so that you have reference for proportions, is use a heaping teaspoon of tea leaves, and then put it in, whatever I'm going to brew it in, and then add like 2 ounces of water, hot water, maybe 3. And then I'll, that's my tea concentrate instead of using a whole cup of water. Cause you usually use, a teaspoon of tea leaves for 1 8-ounce cup of water. So instead I'm going down to 2 ounces and then brew that until the, whatever the instructions say, if it's 3 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, whatever that is, brew it, strain those tea leaves out. And then if you're going to sweeten it while it's still warm, and then pour in your sparkling water, pour ice. And then that's it. Those are your proportions. 1 heaping teaspoon of tea, 2 ounces of hot water, brew it, sweeten it or not. I don't, but if you do, go for it. Fill a glass with ice, pour that tea in there, and then fill the rest with sparkling water. Boom. Done.
Yeah, and it's a great alternative to, if you have wine at the end of the night and you maybe don't want to have alcohol every night or whatever it is, and or if you have like a party with your friends and you don't want to have nothing in your hand, it's just it's a great thing. It's delicious and it's healing instead of what alcohol is, which is like the complete opposite, so.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few tips on how to feel more energized. So you can find us here on the social media platforms, but you can also find our blog at looseleaftmarket.com. And you can see all the recipes and tips for healing and wellness. And these aren't just tips for your head. Okay. We're not just telling you just so that you can know some stuff. These are tips for you to do and just start incorporating things right now. It's easy. We tend to overcomplicate things. Like, how am I going to incorporate loose leaf tea, or how am I going to eat more vegetables? It's just so hard. Well, you know what? It's not hard if you just do one thing. So start where you are. Start where you're at. If you're a 10 cup of coffee a day person, try to go down to 5 and then switch to tea and just see if you feel better. If you're at 3, go down to 1. See how you feel. Incorporate some green tea in the mornings and or the pu'er tea. Just do it. Don't just think it. When you think about it, then do it. And it makes all the difference. So find us here on social. We're always going to be showing you tips that are useful and recipes, which are great. They're fun and they're easy to make. And all the teas are available on our website, looseleaftmarket.com. You can shop on the menu. You can shop according to your ailment. So you can shop according to gut health, sleep, stress, belly fat, all the things. We have teas for you. So Savannah, is there anything you want to add before we sign off?
I think you pretty much summed it up, but thanks to anyone who joined and anyone who's watching this replay after. But definitely let us know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer anything.
Okay. All right. Oh, and we're doing a live tea party next Friday? Next Thursday.
Yeah, next Thursday.
Next Thursday. Yeah. So it'd be a great time to get your questions answered. Just either you can write your questions in the comments or send us an email, info@looseleafmarket.com with any questions that you want us to answer live on here. Okay, so have a fabulous day and see you soon.
Bye.